Okay, so you see that we have finished our model. Right now it's time to export it to UDK, Unreal Development Kit. So right now we can make some previews. So right now we can make some screens from the Maya and see how our model is looking in Maya, and you will see the difference between what we can have in viewport in Maya comparing to the UDK. So before exporting the model we have to merge all the parts together. And of course I've put our head a little bit closer to the center point, and we will use FBX to export the object. And one important thing that you have to do before starting exporting your model and texture is to save all your textures as Targa, for example, because UDK does not support PSD files. So we have to export all the textures to, in my case, to Targa files. And right now we have to invert green channel in our normal maps. If you were baking your normal maps using XNormal or in Maya, you have to invert green channel in the texture in order to display the normal map correctly in UDK. So I'm sure if you will not do this, you will see that your normal map in UDK is looking not good, and you will pretty quickly notice this. So right now I'm doing the same thing for the shirt normal map. We have to invert just the green channel and of course save it as a Targa. And the same thing of course for the cap texture, for the cap normal map. Invert the green channel and export, and that's it. So we've exported all our textures and our model. We have textures as Targa files and our model in FBX file. So right now we are creating new package for our model and our textures. And of course we have to save our package. So right now we are able to import all the textures that we need to this particular package. So we will start from the importing our model, and you see we have options to import it as a static mesh or as a skeletal mesh. Mainly characters are important, of course, as a skeletal mesh because they have bones and things like this. Static meshes are just only for environment things without any kind of bones and animations, but this time we will treat this head object like a static mesh because we don't have any kind of animations and bones, so this is not important right now. So we just imported our model as a static mesh. So right now it's time for importing our textures. So this might take a little bit of time because textures are pretty big, and for normal maps we have to change compression setting for TC normal map. And of course we have to wait a few seconds to load the texture, and the specular texture is default. So we have our head textures in our package. Good idea is to save this package from time to time because UDK can be pretty unstable. So let's continue importing our textures because we have a lot of them. So right now we are importing the cup texture. Same thing. For diffuse, compression setting is default. For normal map, compression setting is normal map, and specular is also default compression. And our shirt textures, diffuse, normal and specular. So right now I'm going to import eye textures, diffuse and normal map. And the eyelashes textures, also normal, specular and diffuse texture. Okay, so we can save our package right now with all the textures and the model. Right now we are going to create our first material for the head. So of course you see I'm dragging these textures from the content browser to Unreal Material Editor, and we will connect these nodes, our color texture to diffuse channel, specular and normal map. Nothing fancy here right now. We will be developing our subsurface scattering effect a little bit later. Right now I just want to put all the defaults to have all materials done, and then we will be adding some more advanced effects. So here is our model, and right now I'm expanding these tabs to find our head material ID to apply the material to the part with our head. So that's it. This is our part, and we're just applying this material. And now you see it looks pretty cool. Important thing is that in this mesh editor, model can look a little bit different than in your viewport. Especially if you have some lights in the scene and things like this. And we will do all the standard materials for the shirt and for the cap. So here also we've got diffuse, specular and normal map. And here I want to have some more control over this specular, so I've created multiply node and add to B slot a constant with value of 4, and this way we can change our specular map a little bit. So let's see how our head is looking with this shirt material. So in my opinion it looks pretty cool right now. Specular looks fine. Yes, I've decided to make the shirt a little bit darker, so again the same trick. I add constant, new constant, apply to the multiply, and with our texture so this way we can control the lightness of our texture. So right now we will create our cap texture, I mean our cap material. And this time also I wanted to increase a little bit this specular. So I've dropped our head to this default scene to see really how it looks, because of course it looks different than in this mesh viewport. So we also have to make eyes and eyelashes materials, but right now I just want to check if everything that we've done so far looks okay. And it looks fine. Shirt and our cap and our head materials works okay. So I even saved this test map. So right now I just wanted to make really quickly eyelashes material. And with this material we have to make this transparent a little bit. It will have an alpha channel, so we will change the blend mode to soft mask, and we have alpha mask in our texture, so we apply it to the opacity mask slot, and I've cranked up a little bit of opacity mask clip value to make it a little bit more defined. So these eyelashes are not perfect. They were looking a lot better in Maya than here in UDK. So I was thinking about making some adjustments to it, but for now they can look like this. And of course we have to turn on the two-side option because our eyelashes are made of one polygon. They are flat, so we have to use two-sided material. So I prefer to see how they look in the viewport, and they look definitely worse than in Maya. And to have a little bit more control over the look of the character, I've created a new scene. I will add just two lights to this clear scene because I don't want to have any additional lights and things like this to affect my materials and textures while developing them. So just two simple lights, one from the front and one from the side, with a little bit of blue color. Okay, so right now we will be starting our ice material. So the inside material, it's very simple, it's just diffuse texture without any kind of normal map and specular map. I've added multiply and constant to have control over the lightness of the texture, because I will be adjusting it a little bit later in the process. And of course we have to apply this material also to the model. And right now it's time for a little bit more difficult material. It's the outside material of the eye. We have our normal map to add a little bit of noise and veins to the surface of the eye. And right now I will show you how to make cube map, because we will need to use a cube map for simulating reflections for the eyes. So I've saved our scene and I've opened the Epic Cathedral level. It's level that comes with UDK, so you have it probably also. And in order to create a cube map, you have to add a cube map actor to your scene. Then in content browser you have to create render target cube node. And having selected our cube, I add this map to the target texture. I set far plane to very high number. It doesn't matter what number it is, it just have to be very high to catch all the details on the scene. And you just click on the texture that you've created and you do a create static texture. And UDK should create 6 textures and one will be the cube map. So I don't know why, but we have a little bit bug here. It looks like the cube map is made of only one tile. I don't know why this happened. but we will use this kind of cube map for our reflections. Just to see how it will look. So I've grabbed this cube texture. I've created the two multiply nodes. And I'm connecting these multiplies with the texture, and I add constants to have control over the darkness and lightness of the cube map. I add Fresnel effect to the alpha. We've got some error, but don't worry, our shader is not finished. I add reflection vector and vector transform. And that's it. We've got our fake reflections. And because our cube map it's just like the ground, it looks pretty bad, but we will see how this will look on our eye. I'm sure we will have to do this cube map one more time. And of course we will have to use a blend mode for this shader. And this will be a blend mode set to additive. And of course we will have to add some specular to the shader. So let's apply our shader to the eye and we will see what we've got. So you see right now our outside eye model is transparent and we can easily see the inside part with the diffuse texture. But as you see, this reflection cube map works very bad. It creates some kind of noise and of course we have to change it. So from the distance it might look okay, but if you get a little bit closer, you see a lot of noise, and we have to, of course, fix this. So I've decided to scale a little bit our head because I couldn't go too close to the model because it disappeared. So we can see right now this cube map reflections. So we have to create new cube map in order to have these reflections look a little bit better. Of course, these reflections will be very small, but still this cube map is just not good enough to work. So you see I've opened the other level and I've created the new cube map. And I will add this new cube map to our shader. So you see it looks very different from the previous one. It's definitely more visible, so I had to push it a little bit down. So let's see what we've got on our model. So it's still too much visible. We have to make these reflections a little bit less visible. So right now it's pretty okay, I think. We can see that something is reflecting on these eyes, but we can't really see what it is. So this is what we are looking for. So I wanted to make, of course, this diffuse eye texture a little bit darker because these white areas are pretty too bright and our character looks too much like a cartoon. So right now it's just a little bit better. So this is how our eye looks. I know of course that this cube map could be better, but this works not really bad, so okay, right now we will move to the our head material to develop our subsurface scattering effect. And at the beginning, of course, we have to enable subsurface in our shader, and you see that we've got three slots to enter our maps. And right now I will show you just some testing results. Absorption color is the color that will really affect our texture, so subsurface is pretty much for the skin a little bit red, so I've used that kind of color. But you see, without all the maps that I need, there is just no effect on the shader. So even when I've put this second map, there is still no difference. And of course we need the third map, and right now you see that the effect is done. Subsurface works. Now we just have to develop the look that we want to achieve, because right now everything is pretty default. The effect is the same. The effect is the same on the all parts of the head. So right now we will create something like subdermal texture or something similar. So of course right now, after creating this subdermal texture, I will apply it, and you already see the effect that it creates. You see the difference. This kind of texture is a little bit less saturated and looks a little bit dead, and this one adds more light in certain places and it's more saturated. But the most important is to check how these changes are looking on the model, not right here in this preview box, but the most important is to check it on the model. Of course, I wanted to have more control over this texture and desaturate it a little bit, so I add the saturation node. So you see the difference, and let's check it on the model. So our skin is definitely more bright than before. Good idea is to move your lights a little bit just to see how the skin is behaving with different directions of the light. So you see right now I'm showing you the difference between having this subdermal map on and off. In my opinion, it brings just more life to the model and make the skin a little bit more realistic. And you see also I've created this kind of texture, white texture. I've created it from the ambient occlusion for our head, and we will add this texture to the radius of the subsurface. But for now you see that this setup don't do a lot of change to our texture. So I multiplied the texture once And also I want to add another multiply to add a little bit of darkness to this one. So actually I add a little bit of light to it, and you see our shader looks a little bit blurry right now. So to keep it sharp, I've put the number a little bit lower. So you see I'm showing you right now the difference between the radius map controls really the places where you want your texture a little bit more soft and blurry, and in other parts maybe you want them to be more sharp. And I wanted to make some adjustments to this subdermal texture to blend these highlights a little bit better with the rest of the eye, of the ear. So I'm just checking how the skin works right now. So you see I've made some adjustments to the subdermal texture, and right now I've applied this new texture to our material, and there is not much difference. It's maybe a little bit desaturated, and highlights for the subdermal effect is in different places, but it looks pretty similar. So you see right now I've put our head to this default scene. We have some really intense yellow light coming from the front, and I just wanted to check how our model will look in this kind of environment. And in my opinion it's okay. Everything works fine. So you see you can make some adjustments to the textures. You can make them a little bit sharper using these options that I'm showing you. And also I wanted to experiment a little bit with the color of the skin, showing you that you have full control over the color and you can change pretty much everything. So I wanted to try and make it a little bit darker, but apparently it looks really too much saturated and too much red. So now it's a little bit better. It of course depends what are you looking for. Maybe this is not what you're looking for. Maybe you want him to be a little bit more black or different kind of color, but you can change it of course pretty easily. So I've decided to add the saturation to this diffuse texture to bring the colors a little bit down, and I think this will be the last thing to change with this texture. So in my opinion this looks pretty cool. Of course I've imported the version with the mouth a little bit open, and you can see also our teeth inside of his head. He's got this little smile, and it looks okay in my opinion. Maybe it looks a little bit more too saturated, but it's not because of the shader, it's just because the light in the scene is very colorful. Right now I wanted to make some adjustments to the camera and take some screens, so I'm showing you how to adjust an angle of the camera. So we have to use Matinee to do this. So that's it. I just wanted to show you at the end that we can change this light color and have this head a little bit more desaturated, because this yellow color is pretty intense, so you can change it. So thanks for watching. I think we will end right now.